Hello everyone, Wade from High Tech Legion here. And one thing that I've always been told is not to judge a book by its cover. Now, it's kind of hard not to do that with a lot of things because it's human nature. So, when I first got this Be Quiet Silent Bass 800 case, I saw the box, and the box is absolutely gorgeous. So I was like, okay, the case is going to be gorgeous too. Now sometimes that works out for you, judging it by its cover. Sometimes it doesn't. I think in this case it definitely did. As you can see, we've got the case here over to my right, and it looks really nice and sleek with some really good lines. So why don't we take a look at the case a little bit closer, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. I'll show you all the features, I'll show you how the system installed into it, and then we'll also give you some benchmarks of how the system performed. So here we have the front of the Silent Bass 800 case. It has got nice clean lines, as you can see, and there is some venting on both sides of the front bezel. The front bezel does also come off, and it is made out of ABS plastic. So this, if you push the top here, exposes the two 140mm fans and also a washable filter. And the front cover here is got some sound dampening material on it as well, to help keep the noise down. That's part of the reason why they have the venting on the side here, so the fans can still pull everything in. And then on the top you have a panel here that covers your optical disc drive bays. So there are 3 5¼ inch drive bays that are available to you externally. You do not have to remove the bezel to install the optical disc drive, because you can get to the little plugs from the inside. So you would stick your hand into the drive cage, squeeze the 2 little tabs, and this will pop out of the front. And then you can slide the optical disc drive into the front, and there is toolless clips on the inside of the case, which I'll show you once we get to the inside. This door, however, kind of important, you've got 2 screws here where the hinge can be flipped to the other side. A lot of cases don't consider that, and it's really nice to be able to flip the door to the other side depending on which side your case is on, that you're not always bumping into it. It also has the sound dampening mat on it and a magnet, so it'll pull itself closed. It'll hold itself closed. It's not going to constantly be popping open and kind of making you mad. I've had a couple cases that are like that, where the door pops open all the time, and I've just taken it off. In this case, we can still have the nice clean look, and it's going to keep itself closed. On the sides of the case, you do have steel panels and a Be Quiet logo here. This can actually be, you can actually mount a fan here on the inside. There is some space around this so that the fan would be able to draw air in and still remain as silent as possible. And then on the back, of course, we have our power supply mounting. We also have 3 water cooling grommet holes, a 120mm Pure Wings 2 fan on the back that's exhausting air out, our I/O panel for where our motherboard's going to go, and you have 7 expansion slots. You can see you got the space on the bottom here so that the air can come in here and be pulled into the power supply to keep it cool. So you can put this flat on the ground if you don't want to put the feet on. This does come with the feet off of it in the case. These are in the styrofoam on the top, and they're really easy to install. They just pop right in, slide right in up into the top there. So depending on what color you get, of course the feet are going to be color matched and stuff, but they don't have to be put on. You can put this flat on the ground if you want to. The feet only do raise it up just a little bit, just enough to get a finger under it basically, and that's it. And then of course on the top, lean it up here, and we have some more venting here. where more air can be pulled in, you have a power button which has your power indicator and a hard drive indicator light, two USB 3.0 ports, a HD audio connection in and out, and also USB 2.0. This also does come off. So you do have to open the case to get the panels off, but both of them come off because there is some water cooling support that is offered on this. So you can put 140 millimeter or 120 millimeter radiators in the front. You can put a 120 millimeter radiator on the back. You can also put up to a 280 millimeter radiator in the top of the case. But I'm going to pull this side panel off here. Two thumb screws. Nice texture on the thumb screws actually, compared to some of them. And probably the most important thing to look at here is the sound dampening mat that they have on this. It's really thin, but it's pretty effective at deadening the sound of a system that's running in it. Surprisingly, when this system's running, it's quite loud because the heatsink fans are running at full bore because they're just 3-pin connectors. This is where you would pop out the cover to screw in your fans and still be able to draw in air. So both panels actually have that on it, so technically you could put fans on either side. But let's take a look at the inside of this a little bit closer. So right here we have our hard drive bays. There are 4 hard drive bays here. There are 3 hard drive bays in the middle. So you got a total of 7 hard drive bays. The 3.5-inch drives will install just with the rubber So here we have a look at the inside of the case, and the first thing that we're going to look at is the hard drive bays here. You actually have 7 slots that you can put hard drives in. Both of these are removable, so if you don't want to use them, you don't have to, because there are an additional 2.5-inch drives spots on the back of the motherboard tray. So the 3.5-inch hard drives install super easy in this. You take 2 of the rubber vibration dampening rails and you screw them onto the side of the drive, and then your drive slides in, right? And then there is a thumb screw on the side of the drive bay, and you just push down on that to lock them into place. That locks the hard drive into place. It's not going to move around at that point. It just drops a little slider into the rubber piece, basically. So it gives it just a little bit more security. It's not going to move around. These are the toolless connections for the 5.25-inch drives. Push them forward to unlock them, push them back to lock them in. There is a little bit of a bevel on the inside of the bezel, so when you slide your drive in, it's going to stop where it's supposed to stop, which is kind of cool. Power supply, plenty of room for power supplies here. You can see there's even more room here. If we had a longer power supply, if you have a shorter power supply, then you can put a fan down here if you really want to. There is vibration dampening underneath this rubber that the power supply is sitting on to keep that from making noise. This does support ATX, Micro-ATX, mini-ITX motherboards. I actually threw an eATX motherboard into this, so technically it can fit the eATX in it. It does cover up some of the cable management a little bit, and I did have a little difficulty with the USB 3 on it, so it doesn't officially support the eATX, but I made it work. We have support for long graphics cards. As you can see, this is a 280X. This is the Asus Direct CU2 280X. It pretty much goes almost right to the hard drive cage, but you can pull this middle hard drive cage out and support up to a 400mm graphics card. You also have support for 170mm in height CPU coolers. Got a large CPU air cooler in here, no problem, no issues, and plenty of cable routing with nice rubber grommets that are color matched. This is the silver edition, so they're gray. The orange edition has orange and black case, orange color-coded stuff in it. So depending on what you want, you know, you get the nice color matching, and it looks a little bit better. So you've got the rubber grommets on all your cable management. There also is a little bit of room behind this hard drive cage. So as you can see, I hope I have my SATA cables and my USB 3 cable running right behind this hard drive cage. So what I ended up doing, because I'm using an eATX board, was I pulled the middle hard drive cage, figuring, oh, I'm not going to be able to use it. I put the cables in, and then I actually found that there was enough room there that I was able to push this hard drive cage back in. I didn't tighten it down necessarily all the way so that it doesn't put pressure on that USB 3 cable. SATA cables are fine, but the USB 3 cable is a little thicker. But it's pretty tight in there. It doesn't move around. So if I wanted to use it, I could, or I can pull it out. That's the flexibility of it, and that's nice. This is that 120 millimeter fan that we were talking about, exhausting air out here, and there's a lot of room up here for your water cooling. I can put my entire hand up here because, like I said, this bezel, this top comes off. The wires for the bezel have clips on them, so when you go to pull the top off, the clips, you just unplug the front panel without having to worry about breaking anything. You do have to pull the front off before you can pull the top off. So there are these little clips in the front here that you would flex and pop the plastics off themselves. Now behind this is room behind the motherboard tray. So I'm going to just turn this around real quick and give you a look at that so you can see the cable management potential. So here we have the back side, and as I said, we have two 2.5 inch drive mounts here. I didn't happen to put my SSD on the back here just because I wanted to see how they worked. Very simple. One thumb screw, you pull the bracket off, you put 4 screws into the SSD, put it back down, and you put the thumb screw back in. Really simple. And one of the nice things is you can pretty much put the drive however you want it, whether you want it up or down, because you're just putting the 4 screws in and they're even. So that comes off super simple. It's got 2 little tabs. Slide the tabs back in, put it back down, so it holds itself in place to some degree, and you can put the thumb screw back in. So that's pretty much a one-handed operation, though if you don't want to drop your SSD, I guess you might want to use 2. There's no real cable management on this side of the board. However, they did include a double stick tape clip that I was able to put my motherboard power into, and this clip is super sticky, so I didn't have any issues with it actually getting pulled on with this. What I would have liked to see is some more tie downs on this side, so that if I wanted to, I could have zip tied these cables down a little bit more. I did run everything else back through the grommets, and as you can see, a lot of the pre-routed cables are nicely done, and all I really had to do was tie my 24-pin cable to that, and part of the front panel, the fan connectors and everything are right here. You don't see them from the front, and it's very easy to hide all those cables. Underneath this bottom drive, there's also a small bit of room that you can stick some cables under. Now, why don't we take a look at how this performs, and then I'll show you the accessories. Alright guys, so here's what you get with the Silent Base 800 besides the case itself. You get a manual. This is in multiple languages and it's very detailed. It shows you what all the screws are for and everything like that. If you need that, you get your rubber rails for all your hard drive bays. These install with thumb screws, so that's kind of nice. Not too many places do your hard drives install with thumb screws. Get your motherboard screws. You also get screws for your SSDs, screws for your optical disk drive if you want to secure them, The tool list does work well enough in this that you don't have to worry about that. You also get 2 standoffs. If you're using a mini-ITX board, you're going to need those 2 standoffs. And you also get your power supply screws. Your power supply screws are already in this case though, so I can't show those to you. Simple, basic, typical hexagonal screws on the head though, and they match the case. They're black. So I really liked this case. I think Be Quiet did an excellent job. It's got nice clean styling, and it vents well enough even with all the dampening material on the case all over the place. I didn't have any issues with any compatibility of my hardware. In fact, I was able to put an ATX board in it, which isn't technically compatible according to manufacturer specs. There's room behind the hard drive trays. I like that. Easier for cable management. And also, I like that this door can be flipped. The one issue with that is the plastic clips for the hinges. I'm afraid that I'm going to break those off at some point. In the two weeks that I've been using this, I didn't have any issues with it, but knowing how I move around my office, I may at some point snap it off. But I guess that's the point of the magnet and holding it closed and stuff when you're not using it. So the other issue that I had is not enough tie downs on the back of the motherboard tray. Those are just punches into the motherboard tray itself, and there are a couple on them, so they have the tooling to do it. I would have liked to see a few more spread out on that one side rather than using a double stick tape clip. Though the double stick tape clip they included worked perfectly fine. They also did include a few black zip ties in with the case, which I did use as well to hold those cables in place. Very good cable management. Very good all-around case. Performance was excellent. This is going to earn the High-Tech Legion Gold Award for its flexibility, for its design, aesthetics, and also for its ability to really quiet down your system. So this isn't for the flashy. This is for the practical, I want a high-end system that's fairly quiet. Anyways, that's the Silent Bass 800 from Be Quiet. I hope you enjoyed this review, and for the written review, please see www.hightechlegion.com, and also check out our Twitter, our Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube. Thanks, and take care.